welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and we are back on the 7th continent for part number 4. If you haven't checked out any of the previous videos in this showcase, definitely want to do that to get a better understanding as to how we got to where we currently are. I'll put a link to the entire showcase in the top right-hand corner right now. The first thing I want to do before we dive into part number 4 is talk quickly about something that I should have discarded in part number 3. In my inventory, I have a club, and this club has a bolas attached to it, which I've been using to make some pretty awesome attacks. However, in part number 3, when I took out the bug, I used the bolas abilities, and when you do that, you can see right down here, it says discard this. So I should have removed that from the equation, and I would have only had the club going up against the bear. Now, this would have obviously changed my mindset on whether I go after the bear or something else. I could have still gone after the bear because I still had a 7 here. I potentially could have pulled more cards to try to put the bear down. There's all those factors involved. I can't go back and make that change, but it certainly would have changed what I chose to do in the end. So because we've moved forward with this, the only thing I can do in retrospect, or basically retroactively, is to remove the bolas from the club. So I am going to take that and remove it so I no longer get that benefit. Now, where we last left off in part number 3, I threw it back to you guys in the comments to let me know what you think I should do next, and the overwhelming majority seem to think that I should attempt, or at least I'd say about 50% of you seem to think I should attempt to wash off my bloody condition because I'm covered in blood after attacking or taking down that bear, which I am right beside the location I could do this, and then I should hightail it back to where I've created fire over here, and then we should start exploring the western side over here. So that's not a bad plan, and honestly, as of right now, I've exhausted my options in terms of the 450 cards. There's nothing else I can get from that option. However, there is something on the clue card that is worth noting, and something I still haven't found just yet. And that's in relation to this icon right down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the clue card. I have not found that icon yet, and when I do, my guess is that those other secrets that I have not found yet are going to reveal themselves with use through this icon. So I am on a hunt right now to find it. The question really comes down to, is this icon going to be found inside the Forbidden Sanctuary as I move through it, or is it possibly to the west of us? That I have no idea. I don't know whether it's a smart decision to head back to the Forbidden Sanctuary and hope with the secrets that I've uncovered and the things that I know to try to get through that, knowing full well that I'm missing probably 50% of the picture in terms of the secrets. That it could be a risky situation going into a sanctuary that is likely booby-trapped, and I'd be doing some guessing, which could result in my death. The other option is for me to head west and hope to find one of these symbols to, again, hopefully, fingers crossed, give me some more information about the Forbidden Sanctuary before I head back there. So it seemed like from the comments that the overwhelming thought was to continue my exploration west. So I'm going to do exactly that, and we'll see if we stumble upon another one of these secrets. If we happen to, then at least we know we're on the right track. If we don't after a bit, I might have to make the tough decision to head back to the sanctuary. But again, remember, when you're moving, you can move across cards that are connected together with no breakages very, very fast. So I could get from here all the way over to here quite quickly. There's nothing blocking it. Or if I explore further out west and I want to come all the way back to here, I can stop right here, and all I have to do is perform the action to get across this open sea area. So moving around the 7th continent isn't so much of a worry. Just before Mary goes ahead and washes off all the blood on her by crossing back over to the east and then coming back west, I want to go ahead and craft this war paint. Now, I would love to be in a spot with the actual resource required to make it completely free. The closest place that has that is actually way back here, which I'm eventually going to get to. So you're probably wondering why I'm going to go ahead right now and spend an action to do this. It's really to free up slots in my hand to take cards into my hand when I go ahead and decide to do this action. And the action is going to be, of course, to swim. And I'm choosing not to use my life jacket or my raft abilities. I don't want to use anything in that role because that combined item slot has a lot of really good actions that I don't want to burn by just crossing over the river and back. I'm okay with spending the 2 action cards to go over, come back over, and remove the blood condition without knocking the durability of my great items down. So What I'm going to do is spend one card off the top of the deck to create this war paint, and then I'm going to combine this war paint because it does have some attributes that can help me with the camouflage outfit. So pulling one action card to go ahead and craft this item, I got a think card, so I'll go ahead and place this in my hand now. I'm going to combine the war paint with my camouflage outfit because they have the same keyword stealth. And of course, by doing this, now I can go ahead and up the durability because the war paint had a 2 pip on the card from 2 on the camouflage outfit plus another 2, bumping it up to a total of 4. And this is going to help me out because I went ahead and attached one of my pieces of meat to this combined item here. So when I eventually choose to eat it, which will be very, very soon, I'm going to be losing some durability here. So that worked out pretty good because I'm able to basically bump up my durability overall by an additional 1 because, well, the other one's going to be sucked up by the fact I'm going to go ahead and cook that meat and eat it. I'm going to go ahead and use this card Think, and this is going to allow me to look through my action deck, and I can take up to 7 cards, and then I can choose 1 blue skill card to add to my hand, and the rest I can shuffle back into the action deck or put in the discard pile, whichever I choose. Now I can tell you right now, based on my action deck being so low, I have currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards inside of it. What I'm really doing here is fishing for something useful in these final cards of the deck, maybe something that I didn't see so far before my deck gets replenished by eating. So yes, I am in essence essentially kind of burning a card, but to me it's worth it to see if there's anything at the back end of this deck that I could really make use of going forward. So let's go ahead and reveal those cards left, and we'll see which one I want to take in my hand. Now I'm definitely glad that I went ahead and did this because I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but one of these cards in my hand is going to help me immediately with the action that I'd like to do next. So this worked out perfectly. However, there's also a lot of really great stuff in here, like having a bow would be nice. I do have a club equipped right now with the keyword aggressiveness. The downside is none of these, like the bow for instance, even though it's a nice weapon to have, it doesn't seem to be all that hard to find the resources to make it cheap. The problem is it's not going to tie in keyword wise, so I'm not going to get a durability boost. So that would kind of be a replacement for my club, but still nice. Fire making kit, it's always good to have that on the 7th continent if we, go further west and we need to create a fire further out there. But for now, I don't think we have any breakages to worry about, and we'll see if that changes when I explore. So I think I'll wait on that one, even though it's very tempting. Paddle, I don't really have an interest in it right now, even though we are kind of going into a swimming action. But the one that is really, and obviously the curse is no good to me. The one that's really pointing itself out to me is this one right here, because it states the following effect applies as long as you have this in hand, which means we literally just have to have it in our hand. That's super awesome. And we gain this, which means anytime we decide to fish, which we're currently in a spot we could fish, so we could debate whether we want to do that again in the future. And we also have this symbol right here with the present on it. And we haven't had to do this action yet, but it's for offering, coaxing, or taming things. And then the one on the far right is, of course, for swimming or sailing. And that's the one I'm just about to do. And as you can see, it will literally give us a -1 on that particular action, which is exactly what I need to actually save me from burning 2 action cards or reducing the durability of my life jacket. It's literally exactly what I want. So I'm going to take this one. It's going to save me 2 cards, and it's probably going to save me some other action cards in the future. So let's go ahead and get rid of that bloody state card that I have in my hand. So we're going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to cross over. Again, I would normally be pulling a card to do this. I don't need any successes to do it. I'm choosing not to use my life jacket or raft or any of those things because I have this card in my hand, which will allow me to reduce this and get successes as well if I needed them, but I don't. So literally, I get to hop over to this side over here, and the second I do this, because I took a sail action, that bloody condition has been removed. As it states right on the card, because of the action I've taken, I can go ahead now and return this. And I've gone ahead and swam back to where I was originally using the card that I have in my hand to remove any cost. Now, I was debating whether or not I wanted to stay here and fish, and it is extremely tempting, but we know exactly what's inside the deck because we only have a handful of cards left in there. And I can tell you right now, the odds aren't so great. There's one card, the bow, that had 2 successes on it, so if we happen to fish and land that card, that would be good. I do have a card, the one we just used in my hand, which we used to negate the cost of swimming. That can also help me with fishing and in terms of reducing the cost, but also giving me a star and a 7 with a star. But remember, those cards that I pulled from the action deck, I got to see them all because that's all that's left in my action deck, and none of them have a 7 on it. So I know that that 7 and star is not going to help me, so I really don't think think this is the best time to be fishing, although I was extremely tempted to do so just to see if I could stockpile even more meat and replenish my entire deck rather than about 75% of it to 80% of it. So let's begin to head west and make sure we stop at our camp to eat. So what I'm going to do is use this ability on my card, which is in my hand. It states, if you move to a terrain card where there is an explorer or a fire figure, which is one right here, then it's -1 to the cost to get there. So this says it costs 1 to get there with no successes needed. This negates the cost completely, so I can move Mary right to the fire. A nice ability. Now that we're at the fire, we're going to go ahead and actually use one of the pieces of meat that I have here, and I can take an action which will reduce the durability of this die down by 1, and it states randomly take 3 cards or 6 if you have the fire resource from the discard pile and shuffle them back in the action deck. I'll go ahead and do that, and then immediately after that I'm also going to trigger all of these to reduce this in complete slot in my inventory to do it for each one of the 4, so this die will be reduced to 0 and all of those cards will disappear. So Mary just had one of the largest meals in her entire life, consumed an entire bear in one sitting. I'm not too sure if there's a status card for stomach aches, but I'd imagine at this point she'd be a hurting unit. She's also got this inventory slot completely opened up. The meat that was attached to the camouflage outfit has been consumed as well. Durability had to be knocked down because it was combined, and you can see the action deck is way higher than it used to be. The discard pile is way smaller, which is a nice thing to see, being that we want to explore further west. So now the decision really comes down to whether I want to head directly west, which you can see here. If I do that, the only option I have to explore is right here, as it's the only one that's actually connected. I can't interact with this one up here. Now I haven't checked out this symbol right here to look in this area. Maybe that would lead me into here somehow through a path or something like that, who knows. But if I want to guarantee the most options while heading west, I could head north first. Now the only downside of that is I am going into snow territory. I do have snowshoes, which can reduce the cost of this from 3 down by 2 to 1, which will make moving out of it a lot easier, so I'm not really concerned with that, but it would give me the availability to check out 2 spots, which I think is probably more beneficial. So I think I'll head north, and then we'll see if we're going to head west or north, I guess depending on what we reveal. Yikes, I'm not sure whether to reveal further west. I kind of tempted to go after this one first. To move out of the space that I'm currently in, I have to spend 2 actions, and these are the 2 cards that I pulled. This is successful because I didn't need any successes to move from here to here. Now the question becomes, do I want either of these cards in my hand? Currently I have 5 blue skill cards. You are allowed to take a card that goes over your limit, but you must then immediately discard a card to make room for it. I chose to go ahead and take the Remember card and put it into my hand, and because I'm now over my limit, I'm going to discard this leadership card that I don't plan on using anytime soon. Mary has now successfully moved to where I want her to be, a little further north, and now I'm going to use a Remember card that I have in my hand. I don't have to pull any cards, don't need any successes. I can choose a card from my discard pile, and the one that I'm going to add is going to help me in reducing the cost of actually spending towards an action. This is the one I want to put in my hand, so this will be discarded now, and I'm going to grab this. Now I have 2 of these cards that allow me to reduce action costs by 3. This could be really useful and also helping me move through snow without reducing the durability of my item that really is the most combined item I have, that life jacket, with multiple other things underneath of it that I could use for actions. I actually meant abilities because, again, combined items give you access to a number of different abilities that you can choose to trigger. I just don't really want to use that life jacket until I really need to use it, because once that durability runs dry, I lose access to all of that. And there's nothing more I can combine to it since it's at its max. So it's got a durability rating of 5. I want to make sure those 5 uses are the best 5 uses I can possibly do. Well, as I mentioned, I'm heading west first to see what's going on over there, and I don't like what I see here. It says Wall of Thorns. A large thorny bank blocks the narrow path you have been following. You should be able to make your way through easily if you light a fire. If you have the fire resource, you may discard this. I don't currently have the fire resource in this location. Otherwise, I'm going to need to use an action to spend up to 4. Oh, so this is exactly where I want to have a card like I just picked up that reduces this down. So I will be using the card that I just picked up because I don't have a fire resource. It's going to reduce this check by 3, I should say, down to a single 1. So I just have to pull 1 card. Totally happy with that. The 1 card I pulled is the panpipes, and yeah, I've got space to put that in my hand. I'm happy to do that. So Mary successfully makes it through by tearing the hindering branches. Now we discard this card. A conical earthen hillock rises up above the snow. Now this is interesting to say the least. I wonder, well, there's nothing actually really to do on this location, but it seems to be kind of an important landmark. I took a look through my secret cards to see if there was anything in terms of the drawings that matched this thing, and I didn't see anything that lined up. But now I'm even more curious about heading west. I could take a look north really quick just to see what's going on up there before we move in further, and I think I will. To the north, I found some bees, hundreds of them actually, buzzing around a hollow trunk. Your stomach rumbles at the thought of all the delicious honey that must be inside. You can see here we can take an action which works perfectly with my camouflage outfit, which is the be stealthy or hide action. If I do that, I can pull 1 action card looking for 3 successes. So as you can see right here, the odds are very much stacked against me, and it's very dependent on probably what I have in my inventory. And I do have that camouflage outfit, which will literally, with the combination of the item it's attached to, which is the war paint that I already attached to it, will give me the 3 successes I need if I choose to knock it down 1 durability. We can get away with this without any action spent and full success. So I'm obviously going to go that route rather than risking anything bad happening or doing the bottom action, which simply states that we just move on. So as you can see here, when doing that action, I'm going to gain 2 successes plus a 7 and a star, and another 7 and a star, and another success. So we've already got the 3 successes we need, plus we're allowed to take a -2 on the action, and the action requires 1 card to be pulled. So just like that, we don't have to pull any actions, and we succeed. The durability of my item has been reduced from 3 down to 2, and it states that I can take 1 003 card and a 221 card from the adventure deck if available. That's going to give us another experience point, bumping me up to a total of 6, and the 221 card was in the card organizer, and it states your extreme meticulousness pays off. You managed to break off a large piece of the honeycomb from the hive without the bees attacking you. Hey, I like this. It says randomly take 6 cards from the discard pile and shuffle them back into the action deck and discard this. That's fantastic. The honeycomb is going to go into my open inventory slot, and honestly, with the number of cards I have in my discard pile, which is around 8 to 9, I'm definitely going to use this right away just to replenish my deck even further. Now I only have 2 cards in my discard pile, so my deck is almost completely replenished, which is fantastic news. And guess what? Being that I'm filming this and my face is not as close to the table as I would like to be able to see secret numbers, I did just spot a number on the game board. As you can see right here on the hilltop, it states 057. So I am going to go ahead and pull that card right now. An odd mound looms eerily above you. As you approach, you notice that some openings are wide enough that you could slip your arm inside of them. So that card revealed an action which can be taken at this location right here. So now it looks like we can use our arm and we can likely stick it into the side of this hill here. And a part of me wants to say that that sounds like a really bad idea, but it's extremely tempting at the same time too. It's a free action to take, but I guess it could be costly if it's a big time con, or maybe I lose an arm or something. To the north stands a steep mountain wall. The terrain at its base is littered with boulders, likely because of frequent rock slides. Even as you stand here, the breeze sends a rock the size of a person's head crashing down the rock face. Every time I reveal one of these things, it becomes extremely tempting to go and check that area out, but as you can tell, this could potentially be dangerous, but also being over here and dealing with whatever comes up over here could be dangerous if it involves rock slides happening. I don't like the sound of that. It doesn't stop me from going in there and kind of poking around doing some actions, but it could get sketchy if I start looking up in this northern direction here. Who knows what might fall down when the card 154 gets revealed after this one. The other thing too is I want to try to get to a location that makes the most of being able to explore further. So I could go to this one right here, and then I could tempt myself by, whether I should actually put my hand in this or not. But worst case scenario, I could at least look at these two before deciding that, and that might give me some additional options that might be a little more interesting. I'm still tempted by this, but also terrified that something bad could happen. So seeing as moving out of this location that I'm currently in costs me 3 action cards or more if I want to add more, it has the plus symbol, but I need to get 1 success, I'm just going to go ahead and knock the durability of my life jacket down in order to use this right here to actually reduce the number of cards that I have to pull in order to get a success, and then I already get the success right here, so I still have to go ahead and pull 1 card. The card revealed was the Splint card, and this does sound really nice. However, I don't have any items in my inventory that could combine to use the keyword to bump the durability. I have no reason to have this in my hand currently or to craft it just yet, although it could in the future. I do have a card in my hand called Remember, and that card would allow me to pull this out of the discard if I needed it. So I'm going to choose not to pick this up right now, and if we really need it later on, I'll use my Remember card if I happen to actually have it still to pull it back in. So now we have a decision to make. Which way do we want to look first? Well, taking a look at this, I'm not too sure what that is. That could just be another part of a tree hanging out, but there's also a stone path leading up here, and there's also these little, I don't know what they are, almost like a stone face that's the same on both these sides. This has got to be leading to somewhere, so I'm really interested in this one here, so let's reveal that one first. The card I pulled is called the ESE track. It states on the bottom, the path in front of you looks vaguely familiar. Are you sure you are not going around in circles? 145 looks like this, and it states on it, on the right track, question mark. Spot and count all the differences between this card and the card that enabled you to take it, which is this one right here, and take a 170 card to discover if you have found the right number. Here are the 2 cards side by side, and we're going to try to determine how many differences there are between them. I took a very, very close look at this card, and the more I looked at it, the more differences popped out to me. So it's a little bit scary, and I hope I have the right number, but here we go. I'll point out the ones that I saw. The most obvious one that I saw was a symbol right here that no longer appears right here. So that one's number 1. The second one that I noticed was this flower right here, very obvious yellow flower, no longer over here. Now this is where things got super tough, and really the first 2 were the only ones I noticed off the hop. The rest I really had to do some scanning. And in order to figure out where they are, some of you might have already picked up a couple. One of them is this one right here. You'll see there's 4 dots inside of this spider, and on this side there appears to be only 3. There's one missing in the top right hand corner, so that's the 3rd difference. The next difference, if I remember correctly, has to do with the path. So you'll see there's a crack right here, a very dark crack going down, heading south. There's no crack heading south from this darker area right here. So you can look at those 2 and see that it's not the exact same. That's the 4th difference that I counted. And the 5th one, I'm going to have to remind myself, that's right, it was the rock. There is a rock right here on this one, and there is no rock over here. So I counted a total of 5, and I didn't find anything further after that. The last one that I actually found was the one with the, because I was scanning up and down trying to figure out where the differences were, and eventually I realized, I should look inside the symbols themselves to see if there's differences between them. That's when I noticed that one of the pips there, which is not a pip, but one of those circles is not inside of that spider. So all that said, I've got a count of 5. So as this card states, I'm going to take a 170 card, and then I can discover if I have found the right number. Yes, we were bang on. We got the 5. I was a little hesitant there. There might be one that I was missing, but there is indeed 5, as it states on this 170 card. ESE track, there is 5 differences, and ESE track is the one we're checking right now. There's obviously other tracks we could run into that have differences, and their answers are right there, but the chances we'll actually remember those later on are probably zilch. And then it states down below, if you have found the correct answer, take 2003 cards. If you did not, discard 3 cards randomly taken from the action deck and then return this. Hey, I like this. I like seeing gold. So we have gone through all the green-backed 003 cards. So as the rules indicate, once those are gone, you start grabbing from the golds, and we get 2 of them thanks to being successful at that last little puzzle. So it states right here, you remember a discussion with Dr. Schwartz about your late companion Emil Z's nasty injury. If your mind is depressed or mentally unwell, you can expect your body to follow suit. You sadly remember Enrique, who tried to free climb down a rocky cliff, ignoring the group's vehement disapproval. After 4 grueling hours, a decision was made to stop searching for his body. Wow, and we did come into this clearing or area here and hear about rock slides and a cliff, so maybe that's the same cliff that Enrique tried to scale down from. Check this out. Now we're talking. This is some big time experience points coming in. So what does it state on here? The tip for the left one states the more red state cards you have in your hand, the more detrimental it is to gain a new state. Take the necessary time to recover from your hardship. And that's very true, which is I'm glad that earlier a lot of you guys said we should wash off the blood on us, because again, if we get hit by those conditions and count them up, we have to lose a certain amount of action cards based on an icon that shows up. That can really come back to haunt you. So getting rid of those can make things a lot easier. You always have that one red state card for the character in your hand. You can't do anything about that, but you'd like to keep it to just that really for the most of the time that you're playing the game. Underneath of it, it says, immediately after this is revealed, return the 6003 green cards stored under the satchel and journal card. Ah, interesting. So I have 6 right now. So this actually bumps me up to, oh, this is interesting. So it's more about it actually resolving one at a time. So this is my mistake. I don't get both of these. How this works is essentially it converts, because it knows at this point you've gone through the 6 experience points that were the greenback 003s. Then those 003s are in the tray to take, so technically I would then take another 003 from there, giving me an 8th experience point. So I won't be getting this card right here, even though we revealed and read it. I'll just be placing it back. And that actually makes a lot more sense, because we had 6 XP, and every time you gain a 003 card, you're only actually ever gaining 1 experience point. So because we gained 2 from that last puzzle, brings us from 6 to 8, which is what you're seeing here. The remains of a time-worn paved road pass in front of a titanic stone idol. In the background, a steep cliff extends for as far as the eye can see in both directions. Well, 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 this is certainly interesting. It looks like we found some kind of idol or statue here. It appears we can go and pray to it if we want to. And it seems it's also kind of stopped us in our tracks in terms of further out exploring. There's no other cards that are placed here or here. So this just connects in with the loop. So this definitely makes me want to check out this area over here to see what could potentially be here, seeing as we're sitting on this particular card. Now this could be useful. It says take a break, and I'm sure Mary could use one at this point after all of the exploration she's been doing. It says you are nearly asleep on your feet, each step coming slower and more labored. However, sleeping under the stars on this stony ground and without adequate shelter might make things worse. The good news is, if you guys remember in my inventory, I have a life jacket that has a bunch of stuff combined to it. It has the snowshoes, it has the raft, all making for a very comfortable bed. And that's kind of the cool part behind 7th Continent, is imagining all your items combined to help you. And thankfully the life jacket has an ability on it that can help me when I take this rest action, which is mandatory based on the border being red. And the very bottom, which is the raft, which I'll show you in a second, also has an ability I can make use of if I just reduce the life jacket's durability by 1. So the check is a 0 plus, and then we need 2 successes. So as you can see here, I don't have to pull any cards, but I need successes in order to go through and have a successful rest. The life jacket here will help me by giving me a star. I don't need the reduction of the action card draw. And then down here at the very bottom, this will help me. The raft itself has the ability to give me 2 successes as well as a 7 with a star. I don't need that 7 and a star. I've already got 3 successes. That's more than enough. So we'll just go ahead right now and I'm going to tick this durability from a 4 down to a 3, and we'll take the successful path of taking a break here. Ignoring the lack of comfort, you give in to exhaustion, although there was no lack of comfort with me having a nice padded raft to lay on thanks to the life jacket, or at least using the life jacket as a pillow. You give in to your exhaustion and fall into a deep sleep. 000 is what I'm going to pull right now, and each involved character returns their tired state. Now, I don't have a tired state, and again, remember, if I could have chosen to not interact with this, I probably wouldn't have, but this one was a mandatory one. The card states, rest and recuperate. It is a great opportunity to reflect on your experiences from the last few days and focus on the skills you are developing. randomly take 4 advanced skill cards from the game box. Now I have a whole bunch of advanced skills inside my card organizer, but I randomly selected 4 without looking at them and placed them down the table. You can tell they're advanced because they have a cost associated underneath each of the blue skill hand icons. And this is where I can spend my 8 experience point, as it mentioned, as much as I want to acquire as many of these cards as I can possibly afford. I can tell you right now, I've been looking at some of these, they're pretty cool. The one on the far left here is a boomerang that requires 9 cards to actually create this thing, but is completely free if you have this bone resource. So that's pretty awesome, but I haven't seen that resource anywhere. And if you happen to actually go ahead and build it, it's really going to help you out in fighting and combat. But it says at the very bottom, discard this if the action's a success. So it's kind of like a one-time use, and you're going to have to pull it back and use it again later. So yes, this could be really, really cool, and you could potentially get some great use out of this, but I'm not sure that's the one I really need right now. The next one is learn by doing. It says you may discard this during the cost step of an action. Very similar to the -3 one I've been using. This one gives you -5, which makes a very hard you know, it's something that requires a lot of effort, where maybe you don't need as much success because you're not pulling cards in this case, or pulling very little cards, or attempting to. This could be huge in reducing that drain on the energy of your life. And then it says, and take a 106 card. So again, something of benefit most likely, I think. Improve camp over here, the following effect applies as long as you have this in hand. So this is similar to the character card I picked up earlier that helped me with swimming. As long as I've got it in hand and I have the fire resource, then I get the benefit of these 2 abilities or when I take an action regarding them. So that could be super handy as well. The one on the left we haven't seen yet, but that's the play music action, which is pretty cool. And the one on the right is decipher. On the far right is the one that I'm honestly the most interested in. Why? Because the keyword matches a pile of cards I've combined with the stealth keyword. Currently, I have the camouflage outfit actually bundled with the war paint, giving me 2 durability, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. If I was to go ahead and get this and craft it, it's relatively cheap. It has a super high durability coming in, and if I attach it to this, I can bump this all the way up to 6. Now, that doesn't sound all that exciting, because it's not really that exciting if that's all it did. Check out the ability on the bottom, though. It says, whenever you are to lower durability of an item, you may lower the durability of this item instead. So what this is going to allow me to do is, when I want to take advantage of the really cool bonuses I get from that life jacket with tons of combined items and actions and abilities underneath of it, instead I can lower the durability of this one, or at least my camouflage outfit, which I care a little less about, in order to keep the one that I really like around longer. That to me is very worthwhile, so 100% I'm going to be purchasing this with 3 of my XP. The question really comes down to, what other ones do I want? Now, when I choose to purchase this, I reduce it by the cost of the card, and I get a choice as to whether or not I want to place it in my hand, or I can actually shuffle it into my action deck. Again, I have to keep in mind about my limit on blue skills. So in this case, by taking the protective cover and putting it in my hand, I have to get rid of something. So I'm going to get rid of this card here because I don't think I'll be making use of it anytime soon. I do still have the remember card in my hand if I want to bring it back for some time in the future. The next question is, with the 3 reduced from the 8, I have 5 experience left. I can only buy 1 of these cards because they cost 3, 4, and 4. There's no way I can get 2 cards out of this deal. So if I want to pick one, the one I'm leaning towards was originally learning by doing, because it seems like a really nice one, but I'm actually leaning more towards improved camp, because I like the idea of having the ability to potentially get a bonus using the music, or actually on the deciphering, because if we're going to go into a situation in the Forbidden Sanctuary where deciphering is a thing, maybe I can put down a fire and get a benefit from it at that particular point in time as I'm moving through it. It could also help me with some other conditions in the future, so that could be good. And it has the best in terms of what's on this left-hand side for the bar. It has a 7, a success, and a half of a success, so it's going to help me on that side of things as well. All right, I'm pretty happy with how that panned out. We had a rest. We were able to use some of our experience. We put 1 card inside the deck that's going to help with or give us an improved campsite in the future if the card comes back around to me. Protective cover is in my hand right now. It's something that I want to put into play very, very soon. I'm going to see if I can eventually stumble upon one of the resources to make it cheaper, but it's already fairly cheap to create as it is. So we'll keep that in our back pocket. But again, I want to mention about this advanced skills thing. Not only are you bolstering your deck, giving yourself more strength and energy as the game goes along, but the power behind those cards is really important. So getting XP is really a big deal because it can really help you. And the cool factor being you can put those cards straight into your hand or into the deck based on how you choose is another element of strategy as well. So as you saw, 059 is in place. It says at the center of the little clearing, you see a hut with a small plume of smoke rising up through its roof. Interesting. And I specifically remember on one of the secret cards, or it was either the clue card, there was something stating that an individual went and rested with somebody. So we may actually find somebody in a location here that as soon as I heard that there was another human involved by reading that narrative, it literally triggered my memory about that snippet of information I read stating that they rested there for a time, and I believe they had a conversation. So we might even want to look back at that secret or clue card to see where that was mentioned if we get into a situation where we need to pick some actions to do. So let's reveal this card and find out what it looks like. Yes, indeed, it is a small little hut. So maybe there is somebody in there, and I guess I was right. That is some type of tree. So that's pretty interesting, and we're definitely getting into some different terrain. Looks like there could potentially be some water to the left. So this goes back to, remember when we spent some time washing ourselves? It appears there's other areas, obviously, within the 7th continent where we could potentially do that. Maybe we will see that in the future, but we've already taken care of that state already, so no need to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and place another card here in terms of fog in this location in a second. The other thing I want to mention is the resource here is this right in the bottom right hand corner, vine, and that is going to help me put together this protective cover, which is perfect timing. So I'll be able to move into that location next if I choose to, which I likely am going to, because going up here, well, I might hold off on that and head into here. It's cheaper to move around and we can see what else is down in this pocket before we maybe come back up. I am really tempted to do this though, but I think we should just travel back and do it later. So Mary is going to move to the hut over here. I'm going to reduce the durability of my life jacket, which is going to, in combination with the snowshoes, give me a reduction of 2 cards, or action cards off the pull. So that means I don't have to pull any, and I get a single success plus a success with a star. So that means I've passed. I don't even have to spend any actions whatsoever to move her from here to here. And now that I'm at the hut, before I go in, and I have no idea what I'm walking into, I'm going to go ahead and craft this. You can see the resources there, so -1. I only need to pull 1 action card in order to pull this off, so I'll pull that right now. We'll craft this and then combine it to the camouflage outfit. Perfect timing to get a curse card. That's nice to get that one out of the way. The protective cover is going to combine with the camouflage outfit with the exact same keyword stealth. It's going to bump it from 2 durability up to a maximum. Actually would bring it to 7, but the max is 6. So we're going to get a lot of use out of this one. This was an absolutely perfect advanced skill to get and combine in here because it's great timing that I can try to use this durability die to take the hit when I want to use something from over here, thanks to that protective covering. That is huge. It's really going to come in handy because there is just a ton of abilities in here that I use fairly often. So let's head into the hut and see what we find. We're going to grab 98, but first we need to pull 1 action card. We don't need any successes. Hey, look what came back around through our deck. It took long enough. We got the shovel back. This is something that could be a great thing to have in my hand, seeing as I still have that treasure map and I am still looking for that specific spot based on the drawing to actually dig something up. 98 states you enter the hut. The hut is empty. There is a campfire here that is on the verge of dying out, but there are still a few glowing embers. This is fortunate, as you should be able to get the fire going again in no time. Just before I go ahead and think about potentially getting those embers going again and starting a fire where I'm currently at in that hut, which could be super handy in the future, I'm going to go ahead and create the deadfall trap. And the reason I've been wanting to do this the whole game long so far in this video is because, again, this is going to to boost the durability of my club, which is going to also add this nice abilities down here in terms of resting, or even when it comes to hunting. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now the downside of this one is I have none of the resources that I need around me. I do have the stone resource, but they've been off the path that I haven't gone to just yet, and I am seemingly tempted to continue going west here, seeing as that's kind of the direction I'm going in, but that's where I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide which way I go. But for now, I'm going to create this, but without spending any actions or cards from my deck, because I'm going to use the learn by doing from my hand as well, which instantly allows me to craft this deadfall trap. And now I'm going to combine it with the club and bump its durability from 2 to 4. So this is where I currently stand with my items. I still have an inventory slot here in the middle that's wide open for something else at some other time. I have my camouflage outfit, which is maxed out for durability. The life jacket's on its last legs, but the last card I attached over here can help me with that. And then we have the club over here, which is now bumped from a 2 durability to a 4. And I've attached that new card, the Deadfall Trap, down below, which will help me with resting as well as hunting. So looking pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and focus on trying to get that fire up and going. I do have an ability to help me with fire with the life jacket. The item that's attached or combined with the life jacket is rope, and that rope would allow me to actually reduce the cards pulled by 1, making it free, and give me a success and a star, which guarantees that I can pull this off. So basically I just toss some rope into the fire and it's lit. However, again, I don't want to use a durability for something so simplistic. I don't mind spending this off my action deck, and I'm going to actually risk this because I could, and actually let me just take a quick look. No, there's no plus. I was going to say I could take more than 1 card, but in this case I can't. So I can just attempt to do this over and over and hope to get successes from my deck. I'm going to go the risky route and just hope that I land the success I need. I also have a character ability that can convert 7s if I happen to need it. So we'll see how this pans out. So we're going to go ahead and reveal the card from the very top of the deck. Oh yeah, we were A-okay. We got the bow, and sadly the bow doesn't have a keyword that mixes with the club, aggressiveness. That would have been sweet, but I can still put this bow in my hand. It gives me more successes than I need, which is, I kind of wish I could have used this for an actual check that would have been more worthwhile, but you know what? Fire's still pretty awesome. The fire comes to life in the hearth, making the atmosphere inside the hut much cozier. This is a good opportunity to get some rest. Immediately after this is revealed, one involved character may choose 1 card with the keyword Serenity in the discard pile and add it to their hand. So that's nice. I'll take a look through the discard pile, see if there's anything worth talking about. Below it, I have an action I can optionally take. I can choose to rest here, 0 card pull with a plus beside it, so I can pull more to try and obtain 1 success. I also have, as you guys already know, a life jacket and a raft that can help me with this if I wanted to guarantee it. It states below, you have learned from your experiences 000, and each involved character returns their tired state. So as we talked about before, you remember when I used the 000 from before, it pulled up the ability to actually get some advanced skills. I only have 2 experience right now, so I'd have to go by luck of the draw. You pull 4 and then you see what you get and you try to spend if you can. So there's that. I could try to find a way to spend the 2 experience, or I could essentially go out, get some more, come back and do that later. But it's really nice to know that we actually have the fire resource in this location. Again, I don't have a tired state, so maybe not gunning for this right away, but this one up here that I immediately have to do, I'll take a look for the Serenity card to see if there's one I can put in my hand. Hey, look at that. We got the Splint card. It has the Serenity keyword on it. And again, this came from my discard pile. So because it has that keyword, I'm able to acquire this and put it in my hand right now. It's actually very lucky that I have it in there because literally I'm counting it right now. I only have 5 cards in my discard, 6 if you include the Splint. So this was a nice pull out and now is in my hand for future use. This will put me up to the 5 card blue skill limit. And that's going to conclude part number 4 of the playthrough for 7th Continent. I think this is a perfect place to stop. We found ourselves a hut. We got a fire going. We have the ability to rest here if we so choose. I'm throwing these decisions back to you guys. What do you think we should do? Should we try to rest here in order to spend the 2 experience points we have and hope that one of those cards comes up we can actually afford at just 2 experience? Should we venture further west? Should we actually head back towards the statue, pray, or go to the cliff? cliff. The cliff obviously appears to likely be dangerous based on the words rock slides. I'm not too sure that's a good idea, but it's nice to know we have a couple locations right now where we have the fire resource available to us. So that's going to be really handy to have it here, and also actually by building it inside the hut as we just did. But it's seeming to me like it makes the most sense to continue exploring where we currently are from. We certainly could check these two out next, see what they have for us, and then make another decision along the way. But it's a tough call. I don't know exactly which is the best path yet, and looking at the secret cards as well as the clue cards, I haven't found any drawings that match what we've got open right here on the map, so there's probably more to find in the very near future. So thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate all the feedback along the way. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do in any aspect of the game, including even the cards I have in my hand down here. I've got a bunch of different items I could potentially craft. We do have one inventory slot available. We're clear of all red card states minus our character card here, so we're looking pretty good, and our deck is literally in one of the best states it could be after one video. Thanks again for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.